Welcome to the Unnamed Sports Podcast. I'm Brian Hill.
I'm Rob Vinscara.
And once again, we're going to go over last weekend's NFL games, and then we'll kind of go and predict the upcoming NFL games. And so we'll start, as we always do. What was the first game? I think it was, we'll just go down the line here. The first game that we have on this paper was the Jags versus the Chiefs. That was an interesting game.
It was.
What was your first initial thoughts of it?
Well, I thought Kansas City was going to run away with it, and then they started to, but then they kind of took their foot off the gas, and then Mahomes got hurt.
Yeah.
I thought Mahomes was kind of playing recklessly. He didn't need to do all these jump passes and runs and everything, and he ended up getting hurt.
Yeah.
But even that, Trevor Lawrence said something to me in that game, and I like Doug Peterson, so I thought that they held their own.
No, I thought they played really, really well.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that you could tell coming out of the gate when the game started that the Chiefs were kind of on another. At the beginning, they were on another level.
Yes.
It was like, oh, we had a week off. We're doing the Andy Reid had a bye, and good luck trying to deal with all of these crazy schemes.
Yep.
And then, I remember I walked out of the room to go do something. I got two annoying kids. So one of them, bothered me, needed like orange juice or something. And so I come back, and then Mahomes isn't there.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Yeah. I was like, what is going on? Because it feels like every year Mahomes gets injured in the playoffs and has to like fight through it. And then Chad Henne has to come in. And now that's like what everybody's saying is like anything is possible.
Yes.
And so, what is he? He did a 99-yard, orchestrated a 99-yard drive to get a touchdown and kind of keep the ship afloat.
Not to say anything, but I think that there was the same amount of penalties on both sides, except that the penalties that the Jaguars accepted got them like 3 yards.
Yeah.
And every time anything felt like it went wrong for Kansas City, there was the man downfield, and it just that kept that drive going. There was, I think, 3 penalties on that. But no, Henne played well out of nowhere and never thought he was going to play the whole year.
Right.
I'm sure he didn't play on.
He's such a professional. He's such a professional, and it's proof positive that their running game is really good.
Yeah, and just throwing quick passes to the tight end. I mean, boom, boom, boom.
Travis Kelce is unstoppable. We were talking about it before he went on. It's like he doesn't have, like, it seems like, okay, we'll call this play, and then Travis, you kind of read the defense and then figure it out, and then you'll kind of just use telepathy.
He's the safety net. Every quarterback needs that.
Yeah, the tight ends are like the ones, like,
and that's what gets a team over the hump.
Yeah.
Being able to make something out of nothing.
Exactly. And that's like the same could be said for, those big plays when you need them. Like the same could be said for Brock Purdy with Kittle later on. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. But like when you need a big play, you have that safety net. And I think next week Joe Burrow has his own safety nets. He has 2 to 3.
Well, we'll talk about that because he throws it all over the place.
He does, yeah.
Amazing.
But I thought that this game, the thing about this game, it's always like the Chiefs' defense is always a little bit susceptible to just giving up plays. It's one of those things where if you give Patrick Mahomes the ball back, there's a good chance that like you'll score and you'll get to a place where it's just going to be hard to get there. But they always. It was a close enough game.
Was it Frank Clark who is a rusher?
Clark the Shark.
And then they have the other
Chris
guy,
Jones, who's the defensive player of the year in the AFC.
Those 2 guys hold that whole defense together. They always come up with a play.
They always come up with a big play at the end.
And
they usually do a great job of like putting the pressure on the quarterback at the right time.
Yep.
And the Jags had a chance at the end. I mean, they kicked that field goal, then they tried the onside kick. And then the Chiefs kind of like messed around a little bit with poor clock management where they still had a chance at the end. And then that insane one-handed interception at the end of the game to seal it. But it was, I will say this, if I'm a Jaguars fan, I'm not upset that much. I'm like, last year we had a crazy head coach who was playing mind games with people and touching women who weren't his wife in bars. Mm-hmm. Now we've got a guy who has played under Andy Reid when Andy Reid started, coached under Andy Reid, and has won his own Super Bowl with Nick Foles.
They got 3 receivers that are new to me that were all really good. That their halfback who played with Trevor Lawrence at
Auburn.
He's really good. Their defense, they have the leading tackler in the league. I mean, they're looking bright.
There was I can't remember who it was who was talking to Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence was on the sideline, as the game is kind of dwindling down to the final seconds, and you could tell that he's beating himself up, and then he has a receiver. It's like, Trevor, are you serious? Like, look where we're here. We're going against, you're going against the Chiefs, which is tough. And the fact that you're in this game, the fact that it wasn't a blowout, is proof positive that you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And so, if I'm a Jags fan, I am thrilled. The only problem is that you're in the AFC.
Well, there is a problem, and then not a problem. He's in the division with the Titans, who are, who knows?
Sometimes, sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Indianapolis.
They're not going to be good for a while.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like a NFC South situation. You can get 8-9 and get in the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they had a home game, right? I mean, which is ridiculous. But it was a great game.
Yep.
All right. Now we're unfortunately going to be moving on to the Giants versus the Eagles.
Well, let's hear what you have to
say. I will say this: it was disappointing. It was hard to watch. It was a game that after like the first 3 possessions from the Eagles, it was just like, so this is the kind of game it's going to be. And it's one of those games where I don't know going forward if it gives me like a false sense of confidence in the Eagles, or it also shows how terrible like the Vikings were. Like the Vikings were so good, but then they got beat by the Giants, and then the Giants couldn't do anything against an Eagles squad that did have a week off. So there is that, but
the Vikings beat the Eagles.
Which doesn't make it.
It was our last play. That was how all the Vikings won half of their games on the last luck. 2 plays of the game. They just didn't feel like they had any holes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? I think Jalen Hurts, I really don't know how he is of a thrower. He threw some pretty good passes, but they were to open guys because the run was so powerful, and it sucked everybody up, and then he was able to just drop it in. If he was under any pressure, maybe it will be different. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing, like,
really good.
They're going to be getting pressure next week, obviously, from the 49ers, but the Giants could not stop the run. They couldn't stop the play action. They couldn't stop just a straight up pass. The Eagles' front 4, both offense and defense, is ridiculous. Like, so on defense, they don't even need to send more than 4 guys.
No, I don't know if they led the league in sacks, but they all have like 6 or 8 sacks.
They're up there, yeah.
Those 4 guys.
I think the Chiefs might lead the league in sacks, oddly enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it isn't even that. I think that they have 8 guys, 8 linemen. They
can switch them out.
Sub out packages so that they're always fresh.
Which is insane.
I know.
It's a team that I mean, I don't know. The Eagles just seem like one of those really, really tough teams to beat. They had their little stumble at the end of the season. Everyone's talking about how hurt Jalen Hurts is.
Yeah.
But I don't. Okay, sure, because he was running the ball. He was doing everything he needed to do.
And he was running the ball. He was getting hit. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? He wasn't hiding from him.
No, yeah. He was playing. They opened up the floodgates and let him do whatever he had to do.
Yep.
And it was just a dominant performance. Honestly, I hate the Eagles.
I know.
Philadelphia is a horrible place. I don't suggest going there unless you want a Philly cheesesteak and some Wawa.
I have family in Philly.
I'm sorry.
That's but anyways, the Giants made a step. Dayball, you know what I mean, brought them up.
He brought them up. I think
the question is whether they're going to stay with Daniel Jones, or whether they're going to move on. I guess that's the question.
Well, I would say that they're probably going to stick with him because he played
one more
well.
year, right?
Yeah, he played well. He just didn't do anything last week, which is just from the week before where it was like, whoa, it's the emergence, the arrival of Daniel Jones. And then this past week when it was like, where is Daniel Jones? Where is everybody?
But if nobody's open and you have that pressure.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. You have to, I don't know, when you look at the elite quarterbacks in the league, they just seem to find a way. And it's more cerebral than anything else.
I agree.
So I think Daniel Jones, I don't know what he needs to do, but he's got to take another step. He's taken a big step this year, but
maybe
next year it's another
year
one.
in the system. And
yeah, because especially with you have this is your first year with this coach, and he's already transformed your career to some extent. So if you just give him another year, the off season,
I agree.
We'll see what happens. All right, now it's time for Bengals Bills, the Snow Bowl, and this game was disappointing. Of all the games last weekend, there was two that kind of stuck out. That stood out. You had the Cowboys versus 49ers, and then the Bengals Bills. Those two games are going to be big time games.
Yeah. You thought the other two might not be much of a game, but those two, you thought that they were going to be, and neither one of them really were. I mean, I didn't think.
Well, they're a different kind of the Bengals just dominated. The offense and defense. It seemed like anytime the Bills did something, the Bengals just had an answer.
The Bills ended up to me to be smoke and mirrors a little bit. I don't know.
100%.
I think that what's his name? The quarterback was hurt. I think he's been hurt since the last
his
half
arm
of
thing after the Jets game.
I think he is, but I'm always equating it back to when they played the Patriots. He would get himself into trouble, and he'd be flying out of bounds, and he'd hit a bullet pass for 30 yards in the back of the end zone. Did you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But he really shouldn't have thrown that pass, and they never should have been in that position because they should have been able to just bury them. You know what I mean? And they didn't do that. Now it came with a team that was prepared for that, and that wasn't taken aback like the Patriots were this year, and Joe Burrow, and they just took him to task.
The thing is, Allen always has an interception. You know, the whole talk is, at the beginning of the season, people were looking at Mahomes and they're looking at Allen as the two top quarterbacks in the league. And then you really have to obviously switch that around. It's got to, at least for now, it goes Mahomes, Burrow. But maybe after this weekend, it might not be. Even though my whole thing is, when it comes to any of these games, it's like the quarterbacks are playing. No quarterback is playing against another quarterback, really. You're going against a defense.
That's correct.
And it was proof positive that the Bengals defense was not gonna give Josh Allen a second.
No.
But I wonder. My whole thing. I wonder if it would have been different if it wasn't snowing. You know, I wonder how much of a difference it would have been. The Bengals had these white jerseys on in the snow. You know, that's tough, right? Yeah, it can be tough.
Kind of true. They talked a lot about the defensive coordinator for Cincinnati, who I don't even know his name. They were touting his plan last year against Kansas City, and in this game, and they just had rushers coming from everywhere and completely unexpected. You know what I mean? And they weren't sacking him, but he wasn't doing what they wanted.
It was a game that seemed like it was dictated by, like, the defense dictated. Well, Bengals dictated everything. Their offensive defensive line can It seemed like the Bengals could run whenever they wanted, and whenever they ran, it was like 8 yards, 9 yards, 7 yards.
And that was without 3 starters on that offensive line.
Which I think is, when we look at the Bills in the beginning of the season, one of the reasons why they were so favored is because of Von Miller. But you can't just have one guy, and you need to have some people in the middle who can stop some stuff. And
they all tell Milano, they say he's a fabulous linebacker. He's a good linebacker. A good coverage linebacker, but I don't know. They look like a different team. They didn't look confident.
The Bills did not look like the Bills at all.
And I want to say they didn't look confident even against the Patriots on that game. They were getting it done with smoke and mirrors, in my opinion.
Well, and they were getting lucky. You know, because when you have somebody who's turning the ball over at the rate that Josh Allen was turning the ball over, he let everybody in. Like, you always had a chance when you're playing against the Bills. And it seems like he only played his best football when he played against the Chiefs. You know, that's when it's like, I'm going to come out and show the world and all this. But it was just, it was Joe Burrow showing everybody, I don't need to be able to throw the ball 100 yards down a field or through somebody's chest. And I don't need to be the best scrambler in the world. He just has a good head on his shoulders.
But he got out of trouble. He ran a couple times for a first down. Wasn't trying to.
He almost got injured too. He did.
He did. He got a little bit, but he was able. That was lucky.
Yeah, it was lucky. Really, Yeah, there's certain moments in the games with the Bengals where you're like, oh, Joe Burrow. I love the way Joe Burrow like handles himself. He's just Joe Cool.
Yeah.
He's he has like
a supreme confidence.
Supreme confidence, and he's obviously he's built for this. He is a professional.
Well, and he's instilled that confidence in his team.
In the whole town.
They all feel that. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
they all believe, and they should believe. It was. I would say that it was the most disappointing. Besides, obviously, the emotional connection to the Giants is gonna leave kind of a pain in my heart. But at the same time, I'm like, whatever. Like I didn't even expect them to even. I didn't expect them to beat the Eagles. But it was just a tough.
So now we're on to
the Cowboys versus the 49ers, which was a defensive matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, in the first quarter, 3 points were scored. In the second, 12 points were scored. In the third, 3. And then in the fourth, 13. And it took a big drive and some big throws and a huge catch by Kittle to secure the victory. But Dak did his best to
that first interception. I could feel the air go out of them. It was such a bad throw.
Well, it's weird because it's as if he was just like for the last couple of games. I mean, the game before, everyone's like, Dak is back. And it was like, who did he play?
Yeah.
He played. The only reason we say Dak is back is because he beat like a terrible Tom Brady team. Like, come on.
They shouldn't even have been in the playoffs.
It wasn't. And so then you look at the games before and you look at the game against the 49ers and it just seemed like he was late. Like every decision was just a half beat late. And so if it's a half beat late and you're throwing it to the sidelines.
I would say that, because I think people say CeeDee Lamb, but I think Pollard was their best offensive player.
And when he goes down.
That was in the second quarter? Was that in the second quarter?
When he goes down, it's over.
It really, because they were saying, oh, now it's going to be, what's his name is going to be the halfback for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Elliott.
And he hasn't been anything substantial.
I mean, he's a fullback now a little bit,
Yeah, he's not
a great catcher of the ball, and I don't know. If you're dependent on Dak, I feel like it's too much pressure on him.
Well, I
think it would be real hard for anybody to survive with that much pressure on them from the America's team thing, the Jerry Jones thing. There's so much that's laying all on you.
I think it's every year, and you could see. I was talking to a friend of mine, and it was like, he asked me, "Is Dak, is Dak Kirk Cousins? Is he like a Kirk Cousins? Like he's giving you so much, he shows such a high upside, but when it's time for the playoffs, he kind of like disappears."
Well, that's most quarterbacks.
Yeah. I mean, I also said it was like Tony Romo.
Yeah.
Like Tony Romo did the exact same thing. Like he had some big flops and big dopey moments.
Well, and I feel that way about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is unbelievable until the spotlight shines.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden,
I
don't have the players.
Yeah.
And
he whines more than anybody.
And
he's always whining and speaking in poetry and
it's but the pressure is on them, and I don't think there's anybody that has as much pressure as Dak does. The problem is they're like married to him now. Like he's got 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like they're married to. With any of these quarterbacks, you have to get that big contract early on, and then you kind of see how their career goes from there. You don't give it to them later on. And I know that Dak is like the only guy. He was the guy. But I mean, if you legitimately ask anybody within that organization, can you win with Dak? Like, who's going to say yeah? Like, he hasn't proven it.
Yeah, with that defense, I would think you would just go out and get a short passing game, meaning that big receivers that can run after the catch.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that they don't have it, but and fine tune the running back, running position.
I mean, their defense is excellent.
Take the pressure off him, dink and dunk.
Yeah.
He runs some, doing what Jalen Hurts does. You know what I mean?
I mean, exactly. Yeah, I would. Yeah, and I think what we all have to also realize now with Dak is that he is not he's not a scrambler anymore.
Yeah. Is McCarthy an offensive coach or a defensive coach?
I don't know.
I don't know that either.
I don't know, but he's certainly one of the only coaches who would have won 13 games or 12 games in 2 seasons and get fired potentially.
Well,
that's the pressure of the
that's
Dallas
Jerry
Cowboys.
Jones,
and that's also the outside media. Like, you got to get rid of this guy. You got to get Sean Payton in there.
Well, that's Sean Payton has all the cards here now.
I know, he's just wondering what team. He's got to go.
It's all gonna work.
I don't know where if I'm Sean Payton, I'm like, give me the Chargers. Maybe I'll take the Raiders. I don't know. He's got all these options, but he needs a quarterback.
Yeah,
he needs a quarterback. And if I'm him, I'm like, I'm not going to Dak because I'm gonna have to get a new quarterback soon.
Well, not only that, well, I don't know. I mean, if he can keep Jerry at bay.
Well, that I wouldn't want to have to deal with that.
No,
I couldn't deal with Jerry Jones constantly in my ear.
It's me too.
Talking football.
Yeah.
It would be too much. But I would say for this game, it was one of those games where it's like Brock Purdy, how would Brock Purdy do? And he did pretty good. I mean, he was 19 for 29. But I think of all the games, he only threw for 214. So it's all the games. It's like, get ready. Because if that's how you did against Dallas, you got a great defense.
Yeah.
Really
good front line.
But you're gonna have to deal with a whole different beast. Because with the Eagles, I don't think you're gonna have so many people dropping back. And so it's just gonna be a different kind of game. But I'm not surprised, honestly.
So here's a question. It kind of relates to Brock Purdy. So I don't know what Jimmy G made. What did he make? He make 12, 15 million a year.
Something like that.
And then the guy that they drafted number one, that's hurt.
Yeah, he
makes 10 million.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy probably makes $600,000.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to start to change this. Bailey Zappi the same way. You have these quarterbacks; they're really managers now.
Yeah.
You spend your money on wide receivers.
Surround them with all the talent.
Surround them because you're not married to this quarterback for $30 million a year.
Yeah, you're not gonna I understand with the Joe Burrow, with the Josh Allen, with the Patrick Mahomes, you got to pay those guys.
Yep.
Because you can essentially take whatever and just put it around them.
Yeah.
But if you when you look at the 49ers, their whole team is so good. And the only question mark is the quarterback position. But is it a question mark? He's played really well. He's a rookie.
And they have to pay all those guys.
Yeah.
They have to pay Debo. They have to play.
Yeah, this is one of those things where it's like if they win, it would be one of the greatest team wins.
And they might end up getting rid of...
I'd get rid of Jimmy G.
I'd get rid of and the other guy, I don't know.
I don't even know. This guy has proven himself.
Yeah.
This guy has proven himself. Brock Purdy, I wouldn't get rid of him. It's one of those things, though. It's like he's playing so well. He's playing so well.
Yeah.
And you just wonder, can he keep it up?
I saw a thing that Brock Purdy played Jalen Hurts in a game, and they each scored 40 points in.
Oh, really?
It might have been a bowl game.
Okay.
A couple of years ago.
Well, it's going to be. I think this is going to be. I guess we can get into it. The Cowboys 49ers game, that was a good game. But it was Cowboys.
Yeah.
They couldn't even get it. They barely got a touchdown. And then they got a touchdown. And their terrible kicker got it blocked.
I felt bad for him.
It's so bad.
Everybody. Did you see that they wouldn't let him kick beforehand? Did you see that?
No.
Before the game, a bunch of the 49ers.
Oh, yeah. They got in his way.
And Jerry Jones came out on the field and asked him to leave. Oh, my God.
That's when
I'm going to tell
bad.
Jerry on you.
That's when you know it's bad. You got to call Jerry down. Jerry's coming to stop you. All right, so let's move on to this weekend's game. We can start with San Francisco versus Philly.
Yeah.
What's your initial?
I was so impressed with Philadelphia, and it's in Philadelphia, so there's that. But
San
Francisco's defense, Fred Warner, they have a great defense, and they have a lot of weapons. So I think both games have the potential to be really good games. You know what I mean? I could say that in both games, either team could possibly win.
Yeah.
It's not like one really doesn't have a chance.
If you were to look at both games and you were to ask yourself which one could be a blowout, if you had to choose one,
I guess I would say Philadelphia.
Okay.
Against San Francisco. If San Francisco can't get their offense going,
yeah,
and they can't like the poor Giants were out of it at the end of the first quarter. It was almost over.
Yeah, I would say that this is going to be Brock Purdy's biggest test. I think the Cowboys' defense was really, really good, but I think Philly is a different animal because Philly has an offense that doesn't turn the ball over.
Yep.
And their quarterback has played so well. He's been so strong, and they just seem to have like an offensive philosophy that's just tough to beat. And then their defense is, right there.
Yep.
They're all right in that kind of top echelon of defenses. And so this one is like, if I'm leaning in a direction, I'd say Philly. Just because they haven't. The only time they look bad is when Jalen Hurts was injured, and he's not looking injured anymore.
No.
And he's played so well.
I know.
He's played just so well. So he has a bigger sample.
I think one of their offensive linemen was hurt, but he played the whole game. And other than that, I think they're
good.
They're pretty healthy.
They're pretty healthy. So it's going to be a great game. Yeah. I highly doubt that it will be a blowout.
I have no idea what the line is on either.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that the Cincinnati is favored now.
Cincinnati is favored now in Arrowhead.
Yeah, because of the Mahomes ankle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the main reason.
That makes sense.
But in terms of the San Francisco game, the only reason I would lean towards Philly is because of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
But I have no reason to doubt Brock Purdy.
I don't. I mean, like I said, I could pick either team. I'm going to pick Philly.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that it couldn't go the other way.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how the breaks fall.
And turnovers.
Turnovers.
They've been doing. Both teams have been doing a great job of not turning the ball over.
Yeah.
And so San Francisco never does it. Brock Purdy, I would assume he always has one pass in the very beginning of the game
that you're worried about.
Where you're like, whoa,
yeah,
Brock, and then he looks around.
He runs over to what's his Shanahan.
Yeah.
Shanahan says,
"Don't do that.
Don't do that.
But I don't know. It's
yeah.
I'd say Philly, and that's only because it's at home. If it was in San Francisco, I might go San Fran. But all right, now this is what I would consider the marquee game, just because you're dealing with two quarterbacks who are the top two quarterbacks in the league right now. For me, I would say that I have to lean towards the Bengals. I have to lean towards the Bengals because not necessarily because I think Burrow is better than Mahomes. I don't. I think that the Bengals defense is better than the Chiefs defense.
Yep.
And so that would be the main reason why, because it's just can they get him off the field? Can they get Joe Burrow off the field, and can they hit him?
I think consistently Cincinnati should be better throughout the game. Mm-hmm. The question is, if there's 5 minutes left and Kansas City's down by 3 and Mahomes has a chance to do what he does, throw an underhand backwards pass to what's his name, the tight end, they could win.
And I think for me, both of these teams have two quarterbacks who, if you give them the ball and they need to do something, they tend to do it.
Yes.
Like Joe Burrow, you give the ball to Jamar Chase, it just, at the end of the game, it might as well just be Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Did you see he passed to him, was a 3rd and 5 or something? They were down near the goal line.
Yeah.
And he was a fullback. He blew two guys up.
He's incredible. Jamar Chase is incredible. And it was like, I understand why you didn't want to get an offensive lineman because you have this guy who's a freak.
I know.
I mean, he's obviously, all these guys are so smart. The way that they read the game now, it almost sometimes feels impossible for a defense to get him off the field. And that's the thing. I've never trusted the Chiefs defense. Since they've had Mahomes, their defense has been come on, just keep coming. And if you can get all the way into the end zone, we might stop you down there.
Well, that's always been the case with a team. With an offense like that, it's a bend, don't break. You know what I mean? We're going to score 3 touchdowns. You're going to score 2 and a 3 and a field goal, and we're going to win.
And that's going to be the question. The question is going to be how much will Mahomes' injury impact the game? And what's crazy is, you look at the numbers from last week's game. So before he got injured, he had some his completion percentage was pretty dang good.
Unbelievable.
And then after he got injured, it was better.
Was it really?
The numbers got better. So I don't know what to think of that because everyone's when you go and you look and you do the research, they're Patrick Mahomes is actually more dangerous when he doesn't run.
Well, it's like they had to take a chapter out of the playbook. So instead of going for the second chapter, when he runs around, and they just went back to regular, stay in the pocket as much as you can, and they have all of the people that they can do that to. You know what I mean? They Schuster. There's so many guys that
it's just
it's.
But it's to me the reason why I'm leaning towards Cincinnati is because of the defense. of the Chiefs. The Bengals defense showed what they can do. They destroyed Josh Allen.
Yeah.
He got 10 points and an interception. And the Chiefs usually start off really strong against the Bengals, and then they kind of like the Bengals they do like halftime adjustments, something. I mean, at least that's what they call them. But and they usually come out really, really strong. So it's going to be so interesting to see, can the Chiefs stop Jamar Chase? Can they stop Burrow? Because Burrow, he's in the pocket. And they're talking about the offensive line. And did it look like he was having any problems with the offensive line last week?
You remember there's the coach for Kansas City, the defensive coach that was on the Giants.
Yeah.
And he's the guy that does all the blitzes, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's been outdone by the defensive coach of Cincinnati lately, and he has to draw up a plan to get to Joe Burrow. Is really,
and it's gonna have to be. It's got to be Frank the Shark Clark. And it's got to be Jones.
You know what I mean?
Jones has got to like I just know that there's going to be some hits on Burrow.
Yeah.
That he's going to get rocked.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
If I'm them, I'm doing maybe even a late hit.
I know. Ankle for ankle.
I think that it's. I do think that it's going to be close. It's going to be a close game. But I just can't see the Chiefs stopping Burrow's offense. This is nothing against Mahomes. It's all about a defense that for the past couple of years has been the same kind of defense. If Mahomes had if he had like a 49ers defense, I don't think he'd ever lose. But he has a defense that just kind of like, sometimes we'll be there. And
that's where they spend their money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all a matter of bucks. They've completely revamped their linebackers in.
They're young. They're all very young.
What's his name? Honey Badger. Remember that guy?
He's
gone. There's all new guys back there, and they're young, but they're cheap.
Yeah,
you know what
they're
I mean?
young,
Some of them are good.
and they're gonna progress.
They're gonna progress, but they're not there yet. You know, it's always how you spend your money.
Well, and that's what's so crazy. It's like when you look at Cincinnati right now, it's their time.
Yes.
They have to do it now because you're going to have to pay Joe Burrow, and you're going to have to pay Jamar Chase, and you're going to have to pay your tight end, and you're going to have to pay Mixon, and then you're going to, they have all these guys that they're going to have to pay, and so if they're going to win, they need to win right now. It's going to be tough because I think you're always going to have to go against the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are always going to, the Chiefs are going to deal with the Raiders and the Broncos.
I know.
You're going to have to go through their house.
Well, Peyton the Broncos are on his list.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know. It's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a fun weekend. I really hope that there's no blowouts. I want to see a tight weekend.
Yeah, me too. But I would say Cincinnati, and I'll say Philadelphia.
All right, so we agree. Yeah, I want Kansas City to win. I do. I love Mahomes, but I love Joe Burrow. But I also there's something about I've never seen anybody play football like Mahomes, and so I always like to witness something new, something different, like the Steph Currys of the world. Yeah. It's just a different style.
I like Mahomes too. I like to watch. It's hard to root against Steph Curry. It's hard to root against them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if you're supposed to be. But there's something about the
unflappable Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. He really he's hooked me. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. I love him too. So it's one of the there's a lot of players in the league that I just enjoy watching. I enjoy watching Jalen Hurts play. I enjoy watching Mahomes. I enjoy watching Josh Allen when he's not throwing the ball to other people.
I like McCaffrey and Debo and
that's we didn't even talk about those. That's gonna be that's why it's gonna be such a great game because all four of these teams have playmakers.
They do,
and they have playmakers all over the field, and it's just a matter of balance. And when I look at the three teams out there, I'd say that the only team that's in terms of balance, the Chiefs are the only team that aren't that balanced. Their defense. Yep. And what's crazy is when you look at the defensive rankings of Cincinnati and Kansas City, Kansas City's defense is actually ranked higher.
Wow.
Which is it's 20th and 29th. So they're not very good defenses either way.
Wow.
But I think this is the time of year when all those stats can be
Philadelphia and San Francisco are
they're top
1, 2,
top
2,
tier.
3.
Yeah, that's why I think coming out of this, it's gonna be tough for the AFC. I will see. I don't know. It's going to be. I could see the AFC also winning because they have such great quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's all for this week.
Quarterback play trumps all sometimes.
It does, but it also great defenses win championships.
Yeah, that's what they say.
So that's why I'll always look and I'll say, oh, Tom Brady always played really, really well when he needed to play well. But what did he always have?
Defense.
He always had defense.
Yeah.
And when did he? And even when he won with the Bucks, he had
the only time
defense.
that they didn't have defense was the year they lost to the Giants, the 16-0 year.
Yeah.
That defense was not that good.
And that's it's proof positive that you need, like the Ravens won with Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's proof that you need a solid defense.
True.
Well, all right. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Unnamed Sports Podcast. We will see you next week.
Yep.
And we'll have the results.
Enjoy the games.
Yeah, enjoy the games. Don't get too crazy. Just try to spend time with your family. I know I'm not.
Have them come in the room.
Yeah, have them come in the room and then quickly usher them away. So that's all for this week. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Thanks.
Oh yes. We have the. You can email any questions to us. And we're going to continue doing this after the playoffs. We're going to go on with basketball and hockey and talk about how the Bruins are beating up everybody. But you can reach us at our email if you have any questions. SCTV, the Unnamed Sport Podcast at gmail.com. That's it. So we'll put it on the bottom just to make sure that it's correct.
Look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah. So see you next time.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us.